Today I am going to show you how I brush Kumo's fluffy and curly tail. You can see this is Kumo's tail, and his tailbone goes in this shape. So curly and then a little hook at the end. So I start with the stuff spray, softer and easier to brush and detangles and conditions the fur. First I brush on the base because there's a lot of fur around it. Then I make sure that I hold the base of his tail, then brush with the grain of the fur. And as I move up his tail, I move my hand up to make sure that I'm supporting it. Because when Kumo was a puppy, I didn't know to do this with his tail initially, and it made him pretty uncomfortable. So since then, I've learned that if I do this, he'll tolerate it much better. So I'm just continuing to move my hand up as I go further up his tail. I'm getting around to the hook area. So it's really important to stabilize that part because it has a tendency to flop around. By the way, here I am using a pin brush. Also, just to make this clear, I am not a professional groomer. I just brush my dog at home, and this is what I have found works with me and Kumo. Not saying this is the proper technique or anything. This is what works for me. And in case anyone is wondering, that little grump in the Bruins hoodie in the background is Sully the Boston Terrier, Kumo's brother, who is very, very upset that he is not getting treats. You can see here when I gather up the tail fur, there's a lot around it that I also like to brush to make the whole area just look really nice. That's the little pad where his tail usually sits. So I start from the top. Holding it stable, you can see where my thumb is under the hook. Now I'm doing the part of the tail that's visible from the top and going downward. The area where Kumo is most sensitive is the base of his tail right near his butt. He really doesn't like that area being brushed, so I make sure to be extra gentle. Then I'm just going back to the underside of the tail. This would be the top side of the tail for a dog with a straight tail. But for Kumo, it's upside down because his tail sits on his back. Time for a treat. After the pin brush, I go in with a comb just to make sure that I get any leftover fur that I didn't get with the pin brush. I make sure to be extra gentle with the comb. You can see here that there's a little tiny knot. And what I'll do is I'll hold the base of the fur and then comb from the middle out. You can see that with the comb, I am able to get some extra fur that the pin brush wasn't able to get out. You can see here there's another little knot that I am very carefully and gently combing out. And he is none the wiser and doesn't care. If Kumo was not happy, he would be letting me know for sure. I definitely take my time with his tail compared to, say, his back or his mane because it is so sensitive. My goal is that while I'm combing it, he's just able to chill and do his thing and not be bothered by it. I'm doing the same thing on the pom-pom side of his tail now. When you look closely, you can see that his tail fur is much more curly and coarse than other parts of his body. You see his mane, it has this soft, straight look to it. If you look at the ends of the fur, they're much straighter on other parts of his body than his tail. And that makes it all the more important to be careful when brushing it because curly hair has a tendency to snag. As I know as a person with curly hair. Getting toward the base now. In pretty good shape. Now it is time to make it a puffy firework. I just take it and I go clockwise or counterclockwise, doesn't really matter. And I just go in a circle, brushing out. It's so cute, it looks like a little firework. And you can't see it from the top, but the hooked end of his tail is hidden right under here. What a good puppy. He says, "Give me my treat, Mama." That's all. See you next time.